Go, go, go. Let's go for the slate for today, Friday, currently April 21st, 2023. If you believe what you see on the screen, my name is Jeff Ulrich. And yes, this is the slate, a DraftKings program coming to you with sports information and betting talk for the next 30 minutes or so. Joining me today, Matthew Lamarca. Matt has brought his glasses today. So we're getting the good plays, apparently. This is going to be a fun little 30 minutes here. We got playoff basketball, we got playoff hockey. A golf tournament is going on that probably no one cares about, and you really shouldn't care about it. It's teams. It's ridiculous, but we'll talk about that. We can talk some NFL stuff, futures, and whatever Matt and I really want to talk about is what we're going to talk about. But since we got Mr. Lamarca here and he's got his smart guy glasses on. First of all, how are you, sir?
The glasses are clearly I'm compensating. My computer is not working today. Normally I have my nice setup. I got all my monitors so I can have all my information. Today I'm just on the laptop, so my mobility is limited. So I figured I would make up for it by bringing out the smart person glasses.
Okay, good.
Oh boy. There you are. We lost you for a second, I think.
But we'll see if that continues. It may just be stream. Well, I don't know if I'm the one being lost or if it's StreamYard, but anyways, we'll see what we can get through here. This could be let's take a dive here. Let's see what it's me. It says it's me. Okay.
You're better now. You're moving at least.
Am I on? Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm getting slacked now. Okay. All right. Might have just had a little interference. My computer did just pop up like a couple things, and that it seems fine. So okay. All right. Let's press a unplug, replug, and let's start the show. What should we start with today? What do you feel like talking about? NBA?
Yeah, I think NBA is a good place to start. We've got 3 playoff games, 2 teams that are down 0-2 in the series and are headed back home. And I think that that's like an interesting scenario. Like the general consensus in the first round is with teams like the Hawks, right? If they're going to win a game, it's going to be game 3. That's the game that they're going to win. Because if you go down 0-3, you know that your season's over and you just sort of mail it in. When you're down 0-2, you know that if you can fight and you can pull off one upset, you can get yourself back into the series. So the general rule is game 3 is the one that these teams are going to win if they're going to win one. But I ran a little queue here just looking at teams that are down 0-2 in the playoffs, how they perform in game 3 when they're heading back home.
Right.
And since 2005, they're just one game over 500, 67, 66, and 4. And really, we've seen that trend. It was very strong in sort of the, pre-2010 times. But I think as people have gotten smarter about betting, it's no longer an edge, right? So we're not getting a ton of spread value with these teams here. The Hawks are only getting 5.5, even though they've lost by double digits in both games in Boston. And, the same thing with the Timberwolves. Neither game has been particularly close from a score perspective, but they're only getting 2 points at home. So I think it's interesting to see if either of those teams are going to cover the spread. It does look like there's some sharp activity on the Timberwolves. Yeah, I would agree that that's probably the team of the 2 that I would be willing to target. But it also wouldn't shock me if both of these teams, being the Nuggets and Celtics, just came out and kind of took care of business.
Yeah, look, far from a basketball expert here, but definitely I don't know how much I'd be wanting to jump on. The Hawks are interesting from an odds perspective and get them on the money line at plus 190. But the Timberwolves just feel like they're the team who could actually maybe, make that a series. I don't know. They seem to have a few more horse. The Celtics are just really, really good, right?
They're very good. Yes. They might be the best team in the league still.
Right. Exactly. So I'm not sure. It's like you said. I know this is naturally the spot where everyone's like, oh yeah, this is where, they're going to grab their one game, but that may not just happen against the Celtics. It just doesn't seem like you even need to bet against them. So anything else for NBA tonight or anything in the futures or series markets that perk your eyes? Or
Yeah, I'm going right back to the well with the under in the Cavs and the Knicks.
okay,
And maybe it's too simple, but the Cavaliers were dead last in pace and they were first in defensive efficiency during the regular season. The Knicks played at like the fourth or fifth slowest pace. And both of these first two games in this series have been under 200 total points. I think that I don't really expect anything to change now that the series is back in New York. Like, I expect one of these teams, if not both, will fail to crack 100 points. And if you have a team that isn't getting to 100, it's tough to have an over on a 211 point total. So this number has come down since the start of the series, right? Like in game 2, the number was, I think, 214 points, but
yeah.
it's still cleared very easily. So maybe I'm just keeping it too simple here, but I'm taking the under once again. I just think that this is like a throwback to 90s basketball, right? It's slow, it's a rock fight, and it's going to be first team to 100 wins.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I remember talking to you about the first game in this series, the line, and it was like 214, 217 or something. So, yeah, it's definitely come down to that. I'm almost surprised it's that high. Like it's like that we're getting a 211. So yeah, I mean, look, series tied. I don't see any reason why the pace of the series would change. So, okay, does that lead you to any props in that game, or is there like a different spot for props that you might go, or is there any props? Or
I haven't really looked at a ton of props for today. One thing that I did like was the over on Nikola Jokic's rebound total. He had just 9 rebounds in game number 2, but he had 15 in game 1, and he played less than 29 minutes in that contest. The Timberwolves were 27th in team rebound rate for the year. Now, granted, they did not have Karl Anthony Towns for a good chunk of the season, but I just don't think that this Timberwolves team is particularly good on the glass. And I think that last game was a little bit of a anomaly, right? Like, I think that with Jokic in the postseason playing 36 plus minutes on most nights, he's going to get over 12 boards. I mean, he averaged like 12 and a half rebounds per 36 minutes during the regular season. He was the number 2 rebounder in the league. So this feels like a good time to sort of buy low after a down performance in that last game.
fair enough. So yeah, I mean, again, like of the games tonight, as I'm trying to get back to the main screen of the games tonight, this one feels like it's got the most intrigue for me. I mean, Cavaliers and Knicks obviously have a close point spread too, but I mean, like you said, could just be a slow paced game. So I'm kind of interested to see if the Timberwolves can bring anything here. Feels like I don't know, feels like a spot for the over too, but that's just me projecting that I think this is going to be a closer, high scoring game. I don't really have any evidence to back that up, but yeah, certainly Jokic, obviously going up against the Timberwolves feels like a pretty good spot there to jump on the over. What do you think? Like, should we? Is there anything else basketball wise you want to talk about, or should we jump to baseball or touch on football?
Just looking at some series prices,
Okay.
I kind of like if you have. I know I talked about this on Tuesday on how I was kind of doubling down on the Suns after they dropped game 1.
Right.
They're now back up 2-1. I think if you want to grab them, minus 1.5 games is minus 360. That feels pretty steep, but they could definitely finish off this series in 5 games. So if you wanted to bet like an exact series outcome, 4-1 for the Suns, you could get that at minus 130, or if you take them minus 2.5 games, which is the same thing, I think that's priced as minus 125. So
take that.
So grab that instead. But I think especially now that Kawhi Leonard, who really knows what's up with his health, like the Suns, they're the better team. They're healthier. They should be able to take care of business here.
It's been a bit of a struggle for them though, hasn't it? Like it hasn't been
easy.
No.
Game 2, they kind of were in control throughout. Game 3, even without Kawhi, they were down pretty early. But they came back, and by the time the second half rolled around, they were kind of in cruise control. It's definitely a little bit concerning that they are struggling so much. The team that I have pegged as the favorites to win the NBA title, but you can only play who's in front of you. And right now, this Clippers team without Paul George and without Kawhi, or with a banged up Kawhi, it's just not that imposing.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you. It feels like the Clippers have kind of, figuratively speaking, but they've thrown the kitchen sink at it, and that may just be, they may just be done. So I kind of like that call. Just taking the Suns. I mean, they're clearly a better team. Do you have where would you stand though on them in the futures market right now? Like, does it concern you enough with how they've looked that you would kind of just back off them, or I mean, what do you think about that number that's up? I mean, is there?
I still think it's a good number. I think that the Bucks and Celtics are probably better teams, but they have to go through each other. The Suns, in the Western Conference, I don't see a team that is going to give them a ton of trouble. I think they're better than the Nuggets. The Warriors might not even get out of the first round. Right. The Lakers just lost a game to a Grizzlies team that was playing without Ja Morant. So I just don't see a team that really, if the Suns play up to their capabilities, that's going to be able to knock them out before the finals. So I like their number a little bit better than the Bucks and Celtics, just because, one of those teams is not going to make it to the finals.
Yeah. It's a little bit similar story in hockey. It's kind of funny because you got the Eastern Conference, you probably have better teams on that side, but it's the same story. You're getting shorter odds on everyone, and there's only one team that's going to make it. So, and they could be so banged up by the time they get there that the odds on the other side just make more sense. So kind of same thing in basketball. Obviously Suns favored there. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, we'll see how that game goes tonight. Got the Jokic over, in case you're just joining us over on rebounds. Matt likes the under on the Cavs Knicks game. And, a little bit of interest potentially in the Timberwolves to pull off the game 2 upset. But both those teams, the Timberwolves and the Atlanta Hawks, not looking great. So, you got any baseball plays, or should we hop sports, or what?
I focused more on my DFS write-up for today than on my actual MLB picks. So let's go to hockey, because
let's do it.
You may not know this, Jeff, but I've been dabbling a little bit in these playoff hockey streets. Not so much betting, but I've been watching. Specifically, as a New Yorker, right? I've got the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Devils all playing in the postseason. And it's been interesting. So just for my personal purposes, how impressive have the Rangers been with those two sort of dismantlings of the Devils in the first 2 games?
Yeah, no, the Rangers are funny. I think in a lot of ways you could actually compare the Rangers to the Suns in basketball. They've gotten in some big name players. They haven't gotten anyone like Kevin Durant-esque, but Patrick Kane is at one point was probably on that kind of level for hockey, and Vladimir Tarasenko. And they didn't really gel very well down the stretch. I was kind of concerned about them. The Devils are a good team, but they're a young team. And I think that's really shown through so far. The Rangers have stepped it up so far. They've stepped it up 5-on-5. Their power play, we already knew, is one of the best in the league. That's clicked. And then they have, the ace in the hole with Shesterkin, who's allowed 2 goals in 2 games. The Rangers look like they're going to be a huge problem. And the way the East is shaping up right now, actually, this is a good time to look at the futures, because if I can get it, if I can find it, where the Rangers sit right now, and just with what else is going on, I think that the plus 750 is actually just fine. Boston is without, I've got all these other things highlighted. I went over this with my producer. My DraftKings sportsbook is going on the fritz. Anyways, the Rangers at plus 750, I think is absolutely fine. The Leafs are the Leafs. They may get past the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's fine. I think there's just too much going on there for them to necessarily make it all the way, especially if they have to play the Rangers or the Bruins. The Bruins, though, are really, really they could be done here. Like honestly, and like no Patrice Bergeron. Allmark was injured down the stretch too and looked bad in the second game. They looked slow in the second game. Florida has a ton of speed. I think that the Rangers could come out of the first round. There's a scenario where they come out of the first round as the favorites. So jumping on them here at 750, especially if you have some kind of piece of the Oilers at bigger odds or you got a team in the West, I'm actually pretty interested in that, man, because like I said, if this team is actually going to start gelling, I mean, talent-wise, they're right up there with the Oilers. They're right up there with any team. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, no, I'm pretty intrigued by the Rangers, and this is as someone who was really high on the Devils coming into that series. So, I've been really impressed. Obviously, I really did not think that series was going to go that way. I thought it would be really close. I thought the Devils would probably eke out 1 or 2 wins at home, maybe even put the Rangers on their back. So, that's the one I was obviously dead wrong about. But I'm not going to sit there and pretend like it's like and not change my mind about it or not react to what I'm seeing. The Rangers to me are a team to be on, especially with the way things are going in that Boston series. I would be scared if I was a Boston Bruins fan. I really would. And maybe Alex Lyon won't the Panthers goalie won't get it done, but I think that the Panthers are very live for an upset. The Panthers line in that series minus 200, right? Or plus 200, excuse me, right now. It's not what I'd call like the greatest odds, but at the same time, like I think they're very live. It's actually gone up to plus 220, so a little bit better. Anyways, that's something else to think about with the futures.
Love it. So let's go to tonight. We've got 4 games. I will say this is another thing that I really like about the NHL. They don't really, I don't want to say they don't worry about the TV stuff, but
Yeah.
with the NBA, there's so much rest in between these series, and it's because they don't want to schedule games against each other, right? You know, they want every team to get their featured TV time. In NBA, in the NHL, it's like, all right, you get 1 day off, then you play, then you're off, then you play.
Yep.
And I don't know. I find it kind of refreshing.
As you get to the later rounds with NHL, they do a little bit more scheduling stuff because it's the Stanley Cup and they don't want to match it up against basketball sometimes. Right. But the first 2 rounds are, this is when you're playing. Like, everyone gets 1 day. That's it. So it is nice. You're right.
So 4 games to choose from. Jeff, what are your thoughts here? Is there one game in particular that sticks out to you above the rest?
Yeah. So, I mean, I mentioned the Panthers and the Bruins. Again, like the line has gone down from 135 this morning. So clearly people are jumping on probably the Patrice Bergeron news. I haven't checked for sure, but I'm pretty sure he's not in tonight. Just based on that line. I'll be checking as soon as we're done here. But regardless, like I think that the Panthers, I just mentioned, I think they're live. I like it. I also like if you're going to that game, I got him circled here. Sam Bennett as an anytime goal prop, plus 290 is, I think, extremely good odds. Sam Bennett came back in game 2 for the Panthers, centering the second line. He had 7 shots and a goal. And, I mean, he's playing alongside Matthew Tkachuk. I mentioned the Bruins maybe down a center. Those are extremely fair odds for Sam Bennett to score a goal. I think in a regular game, if he was healthy and on the top 2 lines, he would probably be about plus 190. So plus 290 there, really good value. I have Alec Barkov up there too. I don't hate him for an anytime goal, but I go with Bennett. Just far better odds. He shoots the puck a ton, and he's just a big factor for the Panthers too. So a couple things there I like. Like I said, I don't hate going to the Panthers in the money line, but I think the best bet from that game is just take Sam Bennett there. The Hurricanes and the Islanders are interesting. Hurricanes are banged up, lost a couple players. I think that you'll probably see the Islanders win here. I don't know. I mean, this is like a game that I feel like I don't have to bet. It's been so close the first couple games. Carolina is just such a tough team. If it goes to overtime again, I would not want to be on the other side. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the Islanders are going to win, but
that was the game with the high stick, the non-called high stick in overtime.
And that's the thing, right? Like once you get to overtime, I mean, like anything can happen. I mean, you can get bad calls, team could get a power play. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a really, really tight series. I get going back to the Islanders there, but I don't know. I like better spots on the board today. I do like the under in the Dallas Stars Minnesota Wild game, and I also just don't even mind taking the Dallas Stars straight up on the money line. I'd rather go to the Stars on the road at -115 than go to the Islanders. Stars are just a better team than the Wild. I think the Wild could be done here fairly quick. They got a little bit lucky in game one. They didn't get a little bit. They actually got pretty lucky to come back and win game one. The Stars just absolutely roasted them in game two. I think the Stars win tonight, and I think they take the series. I think you could even look to the Dallas Stars on like a 6-game line, like -1.5 still on the point spread, on the series spread, excuse me. So Dallas Stars tonight, money line, -115. I like that. I don't mind the under in this game either. And then for the Oilers, I'd be looking to the over in that game for sure. I think Edmonton is absolutely going to bring it tonight. I think you're going to see a higher scoring game. It's a little bit tight. The first couple games, Edmonton really dominating the 5-on-5 play. I think you'll see that even out a bit. But, the Oilers are due some penalty calls here. And once that power play gets going, this team is going to absolutely explode for 5 or 6 goals really soon. So I like the over there in the Edmonton Kings game, the rare over for a playoff game. And I like the Oilers tonight. I mean, I think you can take a shot with them on the puck line if you wanted, but I just like the over in that one in general. Actually, if I was playing the Oilers, I may play their team total over. Not sure what it's available at, but certainly, I mean, +100 for over 3.5 goals for basically the best offense in the league. I think that's pretty fair. I think you're going to see a lot of goals in that game tonight, regardless.
Yeah, a few things that I can add in. One, not knowing much about hockey, but just knowing about betting to an extent. Like, you kind of got to like how this Panthers line has moved if you are interested in betting them, right? They opened at, it looks like around +135.
Yep.
And they have got the Bruins have gotten just all the money in that game, like 80+% of the bets easy. And yet they're still down to +120. That tells me that there's definitely been some sharp activity on the Panthers side. And then as far as the Oilers go, the over in Oilers games this season is 53-26-3.
Yeah.
Like it's just fun to bet them, and it's profitable to bet the over there. And 6.5, like it's a pretty reasonable number for them. Like both of these teams, I want to say, were 3.5 goals a game plus, right, during the regular season. So I think that definitely this could be a good time to hop on the over.
The best thing about betting a team like the Oilers are too, like, I mean, they could put up 7 in any game. And like we do see blowouts in the playoffs. I mean, goalies self-destruct. So, I mean, right off the bat, I mean, you get like some kind of 7-1 game from them or something. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's always an outcome that's available with the team. So I really like that one. And I think it's such a great point with where the money's coming in with the Panthers. I don't think people have clued in yet that the Bruins are in trouble. Like the Bergeron news is out there, but the general public is just like, it's the Bruins. It's going to be fine. I'm telling you, like they have Linus Ullmark is great. It's his first rodeo here. Like he's never been deep in the playoffs. The Bruins have an aging core after Bergeron. Bergeron is easily their most important player. Like I think he's more important than Pasternak. I really do. You get a two-way center like that, they just don't come it. Like there's no one that replaces Patrice Bergeron on the roster. You could put Taylor Hall on the wing or something like that. DeBrusque, but can make up some goal scoring differential. But like there's nobody that replaces Patrice Bergeron. So I really think like the public has not clued into this series yet. And like you said, you bring up the line movement. It's funny because the money line on this game has moved down. The series line went up. It was +200. It's moved to +220. You're getting better value on the series line to take the Panthers right now. Just an interesting factoid. That obviously comes with a bigger term picture. But yeah, this is a really interesting series to me. It's a very interesting game. I'm kind of excited to watch it tonight.
I mean, that's kind of what's so great about playoff hockey, right? You can be a hot goalie, or for one reason or another, like it seems like it's unpredictable. Not necessarily unpredictable. That's the wrong word, but it's maybe a little bit more prone to upsets than a sport like basketball.
Look, Alex Lyon, the Florida Panthers goalie wasn't even in the NHL like a month ago, and now he's like winning games and he's potentially outplaying like the Vezina Trophy winner. And just my producer did confirm for me. Shout out to our guy Matt Cody. Bergeron didn't travel to Florida. I just didn't want to say that out loud because I hadn't checked in like since it was made official. So, but yeah, that's why the line has moved from plus 135 to plus 120. But like Matt just said, the money is still coming in on the Bruins. So the public is just out there kind of just hammering the Bruins like everything's okay. But I have deep concerns. And I think the Panthers have also been they were a very good home team. The Panthers struggled during the regular season, but at home, they were just as good as any other elite team. So, there's a lot going on in this series. And even if the Bruins do win tonight, I'd still be pretty bullish on the Panthers going forward.
All righty. Do you have draft props, NFL draft props up in the old Canada?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we definitely have them on DraftKings, so we can peruse them here.
Oh yeah, let's take a peek at some draft props.
I mean, we didn't even talk about. Maybe we should talk about the big news today, which was the Jameson Williams.
Oh yeah, that's a fair point too.
I mean,
I have sort of mixed feelings about it. I understand why the NFL is so proactive and aggressive with stuff like this, because the only thing that could really hurt the NFL is a fixed game scandal. So they have to be really careful when it comes to the betting stuff. And you can call that hypocritical because they take, their partners with different sports books and stuff like that. But they need to protect the integrity of the game. That said, Jameson Williams getting suspended because he bet a non-NFL game while inside the NFL, the Detroit Lions facility, when if he had walked out the door of the facility and done the same exact thing, it would have been okay. 6 games does feel pretty harsh for that.
Yes. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I kind of agree. They do have to take a no-nonsense approach, but you've got to be able to, if you're going to do that, you've also got to be able to, like, when you're getting into the legal side of it and you're trying to make these punishments and stuff, you've got to have the right. The punishment also has to fit the crime. Like, you can't just go willy-nilly and be like, this is a suspension. It's like you said. I mean, like, it wasn't an NFL game. He wasn't doing anything outlandish. He wasn't doing anything really. He just forgot
it was where he did it. That was what the issue stems from. The fact that he did it inside the Lions facility, outside, instead of like 200 feet away from the building or whatever. That's all we're talking about here. That's what the issue stems from. And 6 games feels like a lot for that.
And unfortunately, Jameson Williams is basically, he is just being marched out and saying, this is what happens when you don't follow our betting rules. Pay attention. And unfortunately, you kind of almost knew that this was going to happen because the NFL almost has to do that. And I kind of see why they have to do it. Like, I hate this just like you, but I also understand the fact that if they're not harsh on some of these and don't enforce it like they say 100%. They're going to, then half the team is
very tight line they have to walk. And
it is,
like Calvin Ridley getting suspended for a year for betting on football. I completely understood that. And I'm fine with Jameson Williams, missing a game or two because he was betting on something from inside the facility. But, it just feels like it's the same suspension as, as if he had tested positive for PEDs. It's the same suspension as we've seen people do for a lot worse off the field. Like, let's just be honest. Like, it doesn't fit the crime. It doesn't, and it sucks. And he's being, he's kind of the martyr, unfortunately, for this. But I don't really know. It's one of those things. Like, the NFL, you're dead on by saying the one thing that could really hurt this league is a complete humongous betting scandal. So they have to enforce it. They should. But this is a little ridiculous. So I don't know. The good news for Jameson Williams is he's a young guy. He's still coming off, maybe this gives him a little bit more time to recover from the ACL injury. But the Lions, I don't know what the Lions were before this. I know that they had dipped down to plus 2,000 on some books. They're back up to plus 2,500. Long term, I don't really think this. If you're a Lions backer, this should be like a nothing burger almost. Not a nothing burger, but close to it.
So I don't know. I still have a lot of interest in them. I'm interested to see what they do in the draft. I don't think it's going to affect their draft strategy or anything, but you never know. Maybe they grab an extra wide receiver at the end.
Yeah, the only thing that really is an issue for me is that they're in the same division as my darling Chicago Bears, who are down to 50-1, might I add. That's already
Yes,
30 cents of or $3 worth of closing line value for you.
can retire on
Mr.
that
Jeff
value.
Ulrich.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just found it interesting today. I mean, again, I don't know if the Lions were at plus 2,000 on draft. I don't think they were. I don't think it would have moved that much, but
If it did, that's a mistake.
Yeah, I can't see them moving.
6 games for a wide receiver too.
Yeah. Let's talk about the draft for the last 3 or 4 minutes here. We got anything going? Like what's your big takeaways?
So I think the biggest thing right now that most people that aren't really following the news are going to be most surprised about is that CJ Stroud is not going to be the second quarterback selected. And I think there's a scenario that he's not even a top 10 pick.
Ooh.
There has just been a lot of negative attention put on this dude in the media, from his terrible score on whatever test. It's not the Wonderlic, it's some other test.
Yeah.
That apparently is something you can prepare for. And by doing poorly on it, it shows that you just didn't care about it. He also apparently ghosted the Manning Academy, and he was considered tough to coach at Ohio State. But you add that to the fact that there haven't really been a ton of successful Ohio State quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I think that the risk is becoming too much for some of these teams. So I'm invested now in the Will Levis to go number 2 odds. I want to say he's plus 250 or plus 300 at the moment. I think that as long as the Texans take a quarterback, which that's another rumor that they might not take a quarterback. I personally don't understand that at all. I think they have to pick a quarterback, but I think if it's Bryce Young 1, which is, pretty much the heavy rumor at this point, I think it could very well be Levis number 2.
Yeah. I mean, the Texans don't technically have to take a quarterback, but they should, because there's only so often you get this high up in the draft, and they have 2 high draft picks. So, again, they don't, whatever position they don't take here, if they take a quarterback, they can address it in their next draft pick. They can even trade up if they like a guy. Say they say Tyree
Wilson.
Tyree Wilson, thank you, falls and he's there. Hey, let's trade up and go get him or something, or Paris Johnson, or I don't know, but I agree. They should. They don't have to because they have Mills, but they should. I'm with you. Will Levis is at plus 300. The Stroud stuff is so weird to me, but we see this all the time. Guys rise and fall during draft season. Will Levis was a month ago was the guy who was like, oh, he's not even going to be in the top 20.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about him betting him in second. I agree. I think he is going to be the guy that goes
Jim
there.
Rat, Jeff, high character guy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. So, I don't know, man. I think CJ Stroud, if he falls out of the top 4, he's going to be the bargain of the draft. I like what he's shown. Looks like a fantastic pocket passer. So anyways, but that's just the way it is. You need to bet what's happening. And Will Levis is happening right now. CJ Stroud isn't. I know one other thing again, and if you're projecting the draft, if you do think we're going to get 1, 2, 3 QBs with Richardson or Stroud potentially going 3 or 4, you got to think that the fallout of that is where's Will Anderson going? Where is Tyree Wilson going?
Yep, that's interesting because I wrote a piece on this the other day.
Okay.
And my one prop was Levis 2, and my other prop is Tyree Wilson, number 3.
Okay.
And I think that that's another thing that would surprise a lot of people who have been hearing, that Will Anderson is the top defensive prospect, or even the top overall prospect throughout the draft process. But some of the you start reading some of the tea leaves, and it sounds like there's a lot of teams out there that prefer Tyree Wilson. If you read Peter King's Monday Morning Quarterback article, he said that he's not going to be surprised if Wilson ends up going before Anderson. He had an unnamed coach with a top 10 pick saying that Wilson was going to be the better pro. And if you look at the name is escaping me, whoever the new defensive coordinator is for Arizona, he likes his defensive ends on the bigger side.
Okay.
And Wilson has more prototypical size than somebody like Will Anderson does. Right. So that for him to go number 3, I believe was 5-1 or close to it. Yeah. I think that's another nice sort of, mid long shot to target here for a top 3 pick.
Okay, there you go. And as you say that, my producer's yelling at me to wrap. Tyree Wilson, number 3 overall. We got Madden coming up, folks. Madden Monday night schedule, Tennessee at Green Bay, 6 p.m. Denver, Detroit, and then Carolina, Jacksonville. We got the sweat coming at you next week, 11 a.m. Eastern. Yes, 11 a.m. Eastern, 5 days a week. Got the slate coming at you next week as well, 5 p.m. Eastern around there. So have a great week.